If you end up liking this video and finding it helpful, then give it a thumbs up and leave your comments below about what your experiences are of using this video. And also, if you haven't already, click the subscribe button and the bell button near the subscribe button so that you can be kept informed when future videos like this go live. So take a moment to let your eyes close. Make sure you're comfortable. And just begin to drift along to the sound of my voice. And as you drift along comfortably to the sound of my voice, I'll just be talking to you in the background. And while I talk to you in the background, you can just drift off to sleep comfortably in your own way. And as you drift off to sleep comfortably, you may be aware of the sound of my voice or other sounds from time to time. And other times you may have your attention just drift off and become absorbed inside. And at some point during the story, you can just find yourself asleep. And you don't have to know exactly how you find yourself asleep. It can happen automatically all by itself. So just have a sense of arriving at a library. And this is a grand and ancient library. And as you arrive at this library, you walk into the entrance hall and you gaze around. You see the vast, grand space. You see books everywhere. You have that smell of old books. You see there are some areas with newer books and many areas with really old books. And as you search, you notice that there are some books up behind cases to stop people touching them too much. And so you begin to walk around the library. You notice the dull sound of each footstep on the carpeted areas of the floor. Maybe there are some uncarpeted areas where your footsteps echo. But the echoes quickly disappear as they reach those books and the padding the book gives to the room. And so as you walk around this library, you walk past all the new books. You perhaps go up to another level and you walk past the books that are reasonably old, and you head to the section with the oldest books. And you scan the sides of the books. You look at the spines of the books. And you notice very few of them say what the book is on the spine. And you find a book you just feel drawn to. There's something about the spine, something about the look of that book that helps you feel drawn to that book. And you pick that book off the shelf. And you feel a bit like a child again for some reason, as you take that book and you find somewhere to sit. And you sit on the ground and you cross your legs. And the book turns out perhaps to be larger than you at first thought. And you open up that book. And the book somehow conveys magic. And you don't realize this at first. You just open up that book. And you get that old book smell wafting out of the book. And you start to read. And you read along that first sentence. You read along the second sentence. You read along the third sentence. And after a minute or so, you finish that first page. You start reading the second page, and the third and the fourth. And something strange begins to happen. The story starts talking about being in a magical, mystical, ancient land. It starts talking about being in an old desert, with a city on the edge of the old desert. And it's talking about a city on the edge of an old desert, with an old culture. And while you read, you notice you begin to feel a bit warmer. And as you continue to read, you begin to notice sounds coming from around you. Sounds of instruments you don't recognize. Sounds of walking and movement. You begin to hear sounds as if somehow the sounds that are written about in the book are here in the real world with you. And you continue to read page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8. You become more absorbed in the book, page 9, page 10, becoming deeper and deeper absorbed in the book, page 11, page 12. Becoming so deeply absorbed in the book. And the more absorbed in the book you become, the more you hear. It's as if you begin to have glimpses out the corner of your eye of that world. But when you look up from the pages, you're just sat on the floor in the library. And by the time you reach page 20, when you look up, you find that just as the first chapter's ending and the second chapter's beginning, so a whole new chapter seems to be beginning for you. You find that you're in this ancient land, and the library seems to have disappeared. And you pick up the book, you close it, you put it under your arm, and you start walking around. You start exploring this land. And you can see animals and people bustling around, hear different sounds, feel the warmth of the sun and the dry air as you explore. And while you explore, so you become deeper absorbed in this strange experience. And someone comes up to you asking for help. And they look a bit like a character you're just reading about in the book. And this situation feels familiar, like a situation you were just reading in the book. And so you go off with that character, you go off with that person, you follow them. And that person says that you have the magical ability of divination. You're able to find water. And they ask you to apply your powers because the town has been lacking water. The town's been becoming drier and drier over the years. And they need to find some new water so that they know they can survive and not have to move on as an entire town. And so you get a map out, you take a pendulum out your pocket, and you think about flowing water. You hear the flowing sound of a waterfall. You smell that smell of fresh water. And while you're thinking that, you move that swinging pendulum from the top left-hand corner of the map along to the top right-hand corner of the map. And then you move that pendulum down a little bit and move it along to the left-hand side. And then you move it down a little bit and you move it very slowly along to the right-hand side. And then you move it down a little bit and you move it very slowly along to the left-hand side. And you keep doing this. And while you're doing this, there are certain times that pendulum stops swinging side to side and starts swinging in clockwise circles. And you just draw a cross on the map below every location that the pendulum swung clockwise. And then, after a little while, you've covered the whole map with the pendulum and you've marked about half a dozen crosses on that map. And then you go out and take a trip out. To the locations of each of those crosses. And you go deep into the desert. And you go out on a camel, bobbing around on the camel's back, protecting your face and your eyes from the sun and the sand, wearing clothes that help you feel cool. As you travel deeper and deeper into the desert. And as you travel deeper and deeper into the desert, so you begin to allow yourself to drift into a trance state. And you arrive at the first location. And you get off the camel and you start walking around. Only this time you're holding a special divining tool, a bit like two rods, one in each hand, and they're loose and free moving. And again, as you did before, you start to focus on the idea of flowing, rushing, running water. And while you focus on that, you walk around the area. And sometimes the rods point left, other times they point right. And you follow them, you just focus on the rods. When they point left, you turn slightly left until they straighten up. And when they point right, you turn slightly right until they straighten up. And then at some point as you walk around, those rods spontaneously cross. And those here with you helping get shovels out and they dig down where the divining rods crossed. They dig through the dry sand until eventually they come to some moist sand, and then bubbling water starts rising up from the hole they're digging. And they mark this new well. And then you get back on the camel, you travel to the next location, and you do the same again. And by the end of the day, you found 6 new wells. And you go back to the person who sent you on this mission, and they pay you with some gold coins. And then you go to a hotel for the night. You sleep comfortably for the night, and you awaken in the morning and find that you've become something of a hero to the villagers, something of a hero to all of these people who live here, who suddenly can stay in their homes because you found what they needed. And although you know you helped them, you don't let the praise they give you become something that becomes some kind of hero personality. You look into yourself, into your heart, to decide who you are. And you know you're not a hero to them. You were just doing a job you're skilled to do. All you did was allowed yourself to trust your unconscious, to trust that deeper part of yourself, to trust that instinctive part of yourself, to trust that part of yourself which knows to keep you breathing, to keep your heart beating, to keep your cells dividing, to keep creating new cells, to keep creating blood. That part of you that works deeply inside you to do things that you'd never be able to do consciously. And you know that the difference is that you trust that part of you to find the answers and to help you find ways of managing situations. And that's all you did. You trusted that part of you. And the townspeople don't want you to leave. They want you to stay for the day. You worked all yesterday. They want you to stay for the day. And so you stay, and they arrange a big feast, a big party in your honour, to say thank you for your hard work. Thank you for all you've done, all the time you've put in. And you know you don't need the praise, but at the same time you'll accept the kindness of others. And they throw a party for you. And you enjoy that party. You enjoy mixing, socialising with people you've never met before. You enjoy interacting with these different people, their different views and opinions, learning from them as they learn from you. And you know you have to leave in the morning, and very late at night you go up to bed in the hotel. You're tired from the day, and so you just settle down very easily, effortlessly, and comfortably drift off asleep.